Firing. He's going for Landry down by the end zone. A tumbling catch for a touchdown. Jump. He's to the 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown. Shovel Is this how it feels to win?
Welcome back, Survivors, episode 6, season 4. This is Surviving the Season. I am your host, live from the Baywater Studios in Tampa, Florida. I'm Adam. Greg is here.
Yo.
I got a little more energy today. We're back.
After the 3-hour marathon. See if any of our listeners made it through the full 3 hours. I know a few did. Probably still out there.
A lot of info in that
Deep
in that thing.
dive with Pete Smith.
Yeah, thanks for that, Pete. Appreciate that. Today, though, we are talking about the schedule that has finally dropped.
You know how I always say, like, is there anything worse than like being first? Hey, I got, Adam Humphries signed with the Titans at 2 p.m. today, but I had it at 11 a.m. this morning. You're welcome. Meanwhile, these people trying to get out the schedule before it's released at 8 o'clock yesterday, like, we can't wait. We just can't wait until 8 p.m. for it to release. We have to know what is the benefit to anybody if you find out when the games are being played an hour or two early. Where's the benefit?
First reported by, dude. First reported by so-and-so. These are the teams that will not be. I think Mary Kay said, we will not be playing these teams to lead off the schedule, and listed like 6 teams. So what? Why does anybody care? Like, why would that matter? Are you buying? Is anybody buying plane tickets to travel based upon rumors? Like, oh, well, these people released a schedule 3 hours before. Now I can get tickets. And now I can book my plane tickets. Let's see what the price is now compared to 5 hours later when the schedule's actually released. Yep, for games that are 8 months away.
Dude, we have too much time on our hands. I mean, look, we make a Browns podcast, so obviously we have way too much time on our hands. But to be sitting around going, man, I can't wait to get these the inside rumors on who the Browns will be playing this year before 8 p.m.
I'll tell you,
man, what are we doing?
Do you remember the original one that was kind of leaked out about a week before? Yes. After OBJ said he saw who they were playing. Dude, I had that schedule memorized. I mean, that's how excited I was for this schedule to drop.
And some of them were right, because I remember the one game I had been targeting was going to Denver, right? And that one was November 3rd on the other schedule, and this one is November 3rd on that. So somehow they had a few of them right then, obviously, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
I didn't compare them.
No, I didn't either.
But
now that you mention it.
But that one was the same, because that was the one game that I've been getting excited about going out there. And I've been talking with my friends like, hey, this is where we're going, right, this year? Denver, November 3rd, one day before my birthday. Let's do this.
Celebration.
It's on.
Why Denver, by the way?
You can legally smoke all the weed you want, eat edibles in the parking lot before you walk into the game, forget everything that happened during the game. And nobody can bother you. The police cannot harass you.
It'll be a spectacular post-game pod.
Yeah, right. We probably wouldn't even make it if that was the case. That between all the beers I'm going to have at high altitude, nope. It's not happening. We wouldn't be able to do it. There'd be no oxygen left in my brain.
Sounds like a good time to me.
No, I heard Mile High, though, I've never been there. Heard it's the like stadium is second to none. The atmosphere, we have a history with them. That's where all the friends wanted to go too. Everybody's been talking about, all right, this is the one we want to do this year, right? So we were just waiting for the schedule to drop. That was the main thing.
At least beginning of November, it won't be. I mean, there's a chance it's super fucking cold, but there's also a chance there may be a chance it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we live in Ohio, man. So Come on, I ain't scared.
Yeah, speaking of which, a lot of home games on the back end of this schedule.
Oh, yeah. What I was looking at, 2 out of the last 8 games are away, which means we're getting screwed at the beginning of the schedule.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
We got the bye week in week 7. We're going to open at home against Tennessee, a regular 1 o'clock Sunday game. We don't have a lot of those anymore.
What do you think about Tennessee? Tennessee opening. Why did that get chosen? They're just like, we got to get them on the schedule. I mean, like when you look at our schedule, we're playing all our division foes like late in the season. You know, we have the one game against the Ravens early, but we're playing Steelers 2 out of 3 weeks. We play the Steelers 11 and 13. That makes zero sense to me. From you're telling me you couldn't have switched one of those games with one of the the Bengals or did something there to space those out, and then we don't play the Bengals until week 14 and week 17.
Sort of an interesting. I know they like to do 2 division games to close the season for most teams because you're wrapping up your division races. Then those can make for exciting games. But yeah.
Didn't we play the Steelers week 1 and like week 8 last year? Like they're out of the way, done.
Yeah.
And we played the Bengals or the Ravens early. It seems like this year, we've only got 1 division game in the first 8 weeks, and then we're going to hit them all late. Which typically those are your tough games, but a lot of this is just going to fall down to, are you healthy? Especially when you come down to the end. And if you were to look at like a team like the Bengals. They might have a tough time. So once we get to week 14, because they're not going to be very strong this year, I don't think, as a team, they're going to probably be one of the worst teams in the league. You get to week 14, are they already, sitting guys that would typically play because of injury? Like, he's got a hamstring. No point in risking it. Let's just sit them out. Week 17 for sure. They're not going to be playing their starters if they're out of it.
True. Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. If they're drafting a quarterback this year or something, that's an opportunity for them to throw him in week 14 and week 17. By that time, maybe their season might be wrapped. If we're lucky, a couple wins there. It's an interesting schedule, to say the least. Tennessee, the opener, at least it's at home. I think that game 1 at home is awesome for the Browns fans. Going to be super excited.
A rare 1:00 game this year also.
Yeah, we don't have many. And it's sort of like a bland matchup or whatever, but you got to play them somewhere. So let's, we get that one out of the way.
But the Titans is not it's not a free win. I think people look at that and they go, Tennessee, piece of cake. They're a good team, man. They won 9 games last year.
Yeah.
Just missed out on the playoffs. Yeah, they're no slouch. They, a lot of their, Mariota missed 2 games and he probably could have missed more. He was dealing with injury the whole year. From a wide receiver standpoint, I just talked about Adam Humphries, who they signed, so bring him in with Corey Davis. So they're, they're thinking their wide receivers got a little bit better, but they win with the ground game. And that's where we struggled last year. Derrick Henry, who didn't start off very good, all of a sudden started, he came on real strong second half of the season. And that might be in Tennessee's mind. From last year, like, hey, we got to establish that run early. That will be a tough matchup for our defensive line to see what we're made of. We got by the time the draft gets over, you're thinking we're going to have a pretty, we already have 2 new guys on the starting line, but for backup positions and whatnot, you could have another 3 guys in there when it's all said and done of what we're putting out there, and they're going to have to show up that first week. To stop
expectations are going to be high too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to, they're going to come out wound up, Cleveland's going to be wound up real tight for this one.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a solid team to start off the year with. Defensively, they're tough. Offensively, they struggle with Mariota, but if Mariota's healthy, like I said, that makes it tough. So you don't, that's just not a free one. I think most people look at Tennessee, they go 1-0. And then I did see the line. Somebody had posted the line. I think the Browns were like 4.5 point favorites.
Yep. Line's up 4.5 points.
So when's the last time we were favorites?
Yeah, in week 1, no doubt.
So yeah, that's not a gimme. Tough game to start off the season. Definitely winnable game. But I'll predict 1-0 going into week 2.
Week 2, Monday, September 16th, Monday night. Browns in New York City. Actually, it's not in New York City, but playing the Jets.
Yeah, now the Jets they're going to think in their mind that they are playoff contenders. But when I'm going over this roster, there's a lot. There's just, I don't know what they're, like Sam Darnold's got an uphill battle. Obviously, we think he's going to play better this year. He was super young as a rookie, one of the youngest rookies in this past draft, comes out.
struggles year one, plays okay, but you think he's going to improve. And then they're like, hey, we're going to help you out. We're going to get you Jamison Crowder. Woo! All right. Yeah, match him up with Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa and, Jermaine Kearse. Like, they got a whole bunch of, like, wide receiver twos. From a tight end position, Chris Herndon, Jordan Leggett, a couple guys that are okay, nothing spectacular. But then you get to their offensive line and you're like, boy, Sam Bradford's going to be running for his life. This is a terrible offensive line. And the one thing, as I was going through these rosters and breaking down the games that we're going to be playing this year, you'll see interior offensive lines of the teams that we're playing terrible. So, guys like Sheldon Richardson and Larry Ogunjobi, it's good matchups right now. Obviously the teams aren't done acquiring talent. These guys, they're going to have a second round of free agency after the draft is over. People are going to draft guys for the interior line. But when you just look at it from now, it looks like our defensive line is going to eat this year, eat opposing quarterbacks often. And right here, week 2 against the Jets seems like a good week to be able to do it.
Yeah, should be fun. Browns.
I was going to say Adam Gase in this year. Does that do anything for you?
No, not really.
Le'Veon Bell. Does that do anything?
Well,
adding
a
running back?
Could be a good piece there, but
yeah.
Or
CJ Mosley, the other one. So, they spent money in free agency, but are they going to be able to do anything against the Browns? 2-0. 2-0, I have us.
Yeah, this is the Browns and the Jets were the first Monday night game. This is the 50th year anniversary of Monday Night Football, I believe.
Oh, there's not a week 1 Monday night game?
Yeah, that's kind of why I was kind of expecting maybe we would catch that Monday night game against New York on the first week, but we did not. I don't know who did. Maybe it's not 50. I don't know. Someone fact check that. We don't have time. Let's move on to our second primetime game in a row. Sunday, September 22, the LA Rams, Sunday night in Cleveland.
Oof.
Come on.
This one's going to be some expensive tickets. That was the other thing that I saw. Somebody had posted yesterday, prices of tickets have like doubled in like 1 hour after the schedule release. Maybe we should rethink about how should we accept these fair weather fans? Because that's what they're doing. They're driving up our ticket prices. You son of a bitches.
As long as you're standing and making noise, getting that place fired up, I'm all for it.
Yeah, because you're not paying for tickets down in Tampa Bay. You're just getting to watch from TV. What about those at the game paying for hard-earned money for a ticket and having to pay double the price because, Mike down the street who wore a Pittsburgh Steelers fucking hat for the last 10 years all of a sudden goes, yeah, I kind of like Baker Mayfield. I think I'm going to hop on board.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather go watch the 1-14 Browns play a home game against Cincinnati in week 16 or week 17 for $8, or would you rather watch the LA Rams come to town Sunday night football and you got to pay $100?
$800. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No, hey, I'm just
Screw
saying.
that
I'm just
shitty
saying. There's these bandwagon fans that are costing us money. Let's be honest. It's just not all, it's not all sunshine.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive because it's good.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, this game is going to be awesome. Rams 13-3 last year, NFC champions. Got their asses kicked by the Patriots. We know in the Super Bowl. You think they're definitely going to come out ready, thinking that they're Super Bowl contenders again. We could be sitting 2-0. They could be sitting 2-0. This is going to be a huge Sunday night matchup. There's going to be a ton of eyes on this, not just in Cleveland, but all over the country. What more is there to say about this matchup? If both teams are healthy, this could be like that. Remember the Kansas City versus the Rams game last year, and the Kansas City versus the one of these games where it's just back and forth. Both teams go for 500 yards on offense. Final score 40-39, something like that. What do you think when it's the Browns at home? If both teams are healthy, what's the spread on this one?
Oh, geez. Yeah. I would say it's close to a pick. The Rams will play the Saints the week before. So that...
Is that a Monday night or a Sunday night game?
No, I think it's in LA, though. Just a regular 4:25 game. So, yeah, I think it'll depend. If the Browns handle Tennessee and New York, if the Rams, they open in Carolina, and then they have the Saints at home, I mean, if both teams are coming in 2-0 with decent looking wins, I guess the Rams are probably favored on the road there.
Yeah, I would say a couple points.
Yeah,
2-3 points.
Just on there. But
Name.
yeah, I don't expect the Rams probably to be as good as they were last year, but we'll see.
Strong roster. I mean, who knows? Blake Bortles could take over that starting quarterback gig from Jared Goff after he pooped his pants in the Super Bowl. Are you on board with that? They added Eric Weddle, Clay Matthews, Blake Bortles, like I said, but they lost Mark Barron. So they really are coming back, and Sue from the defensive tackle. Or at least he hasn't been re-signed yet by anybody. So I guess there's a chance he could go back. But again, this is, we're still a draft away, and we're a second round of free agency. A lot of players could be added to this. But overall, when you look at from top to bottom, like they're pretty stacked offensively. But when you look on the interior offensive line, they've got problems. And then what does that mean? It's Richardson and it's Ogunjobi. And when we're going to our, we're on third down and long, and one of those guys moves inside, whether it be Myles Garrett or it's Vernon or whatever they're going to do in those packages, this is where all the weaknesses are going to be. It looks every single, like as you go down the list, guards and centers are bad. Good offensive tackles on a lot of these teams. Guard and centers are bad, and that's why you pay big money for a guy like Sheldon Richardson.
Mm-hmm. Even talking about some of those third down packages that the Browns are going to be throwing with Avery, Vernon, Garrett, all coming. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and I don't think the Browns are done adding pass rushers either. I think they're going to add another one eventually, probably in the draft. Maybe not a guy that's going to contribute right away, but it's guys like we talked about, Max Crosby or something like that a little bit later in the draft.
Yep. So rolling into week 4, it's back to a 1:00 game, Sunday, September 29th. We are traveling to Baltimore for our first divisional matchup against the Ravens.
So this is where we were talking about this with Pete. Like the Browns have to be able to match up. Like you're going 1 week, you're playing the Rams, and they love to use just one running back, and they spread things out, a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. And then next week we get the Baltimore Ravens, who are using 2 tight ends, 2 backs. I don't even think they have 3 wide receivers on their roster that are worth running out on the field right now. You have to be able to defend different ways, and these are like the offenses you're going to get here. You're going to get the running offense from the Ravens, and you're going to have to stop sort of the way that you defend the Titans. You're going to have to stop the run. The week before, you need to stop the pass. Now you come back, you got to stop the run. Are the Browns going to be able to do that? Are we complete defense this year? That's going to be the question. And we're going to find out early on. Can you stop the run against the Titans? Can you stop the pass against the Rams? And then come back, do it again against the Ravens. And in Baltimore, they were 10-6 last year. They made the playoffs. They're always good. They lost a couple key players: Suggs, C.J. Mosley, Eric Weddle gone. They add Earl Thomas, Mark Ingram at running back. They lose some key players there. They need some linebackers. They need some wide receivers. They have some holes there, but they have draft picks for that. They still have, like I said, the second round of free agency to fill that in. This is another good matchup, and this kind of will set the tone for who's going to be the AFC North leader right here after week 4.
Yeah, Baltimore will start in Miami, then they'll play at home against the Cardinals, and then they'll travel to Kansas City for their first 3 games.
So 2-1.
The Ravens have an interesting. This has only happened 4 times since the 16-game schedule was implemented in 1978. They play home, away, home, away, home, away, all the way through the schedule. Yep. No
Amazing.
Consecutive home or away games for them the whole season.
How are these things not random?
Interesting. So, yeah, that'll be a big matchup there.
Yeah, and they play well against the Chiefs. It's in Kansas City. Most likely they'll lose that one, but they could come in 3-0. We could be 3-0, and you're talking about a AFC matchup in week 4 to see who's the king of the AFC North.
Good times.
And then they turn around and got the Steelers the next week. They go Chiefs, Browns, Steelers for the Ravens.
Yeah, good luck.
Yikes.
Going into week 5, the Browns will get their second Monday night game on the road again in San Francisco this time.
Yeah, San Francisco was disappointing 4-12 last year, but if you remember, Jimmy G got hurt early, and then they really struggled. C.J. Beathard was, okay for a backup. Nick Mullins, okay when he got his chance, but it seemed like once Jimmy G went down, like all hope had faded for San Francisco. This is an interesting year because if they don't play well, what happens to Kyle Shanahan? And he signed like a ridiculously long contract. Him and John Lynch there, the GM. But you got to think, man, they really haven't won very many games here.
Yeah.
It's a decent roster. When you look at this roster, top to bottom, like they have all kinds of, like you look on here, you're like, man, there's names all over. Like these are guys that I remember from this draft, and really none of them played well. It's surprising, like how bad a lot of these guys have played. You know, Solomon Thomas was a guy that we absolutely loved. He's been terrible there. They can't do anything with him. I mean, do you remember the cornerback, Akella Witherspoon, who was supposed to be this great player? 45 he graded last year on PFF. That's like, but basically it's time to get out of the league if you're going to be that bad. It's crazy because, they seem to have a lot of talent, but maybe just the way the team building has been, it hasn't been going well. I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously when you're missing your quarterback, that's a problem. How good is Jimmy G really? Do we know? I think there's questions there. Yeah. But they're not afraid of trying. I mean, they added Quan Alexander, Jason Verrett, corner, D Ford they traded for. They keep adding running backs for some reason. Tevin Coleman they added this time. Last year they added Jerick McKinnon. Also on the roster, Alfred Morris, Matt Breida. I mean, for what do they always say about Kyle Shanahan? Like his offense, he can make any running back there work. Meanwhile, they keep going out and spending money on these guys. Kind of defeats what they say about that. I mean, and good money. So here, I think when we meet them week 5, the matchup is going to be George Kittle, and the Browns have had a real problem guarding tight ends, and George Kittle absolutely lit the league on fire last year. So that's going to be the one. You got to stop George Kittle. You got to stop Dante Pettis, who sort of had came out last year and did some nice things and will be coming back, probably be wide receiver 1 on that team for Jimmy G. So not an easy, not a gimme. If San Francisco plays up to the names on this roster, on paper they look good. It's one of these teams that just doesn't produce, though they have yet.
Yeah, their first 4 games they will start in Tampa. Then they've got 3 AFC North teams in a row. They will go to Cincinnati. Then they'll play the Steelers at home. Then they have the bye week, and then Monday Night Football against the Browns. So they're going to be playing some matchups there that we know well, the Bengals and the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, they easily could beat the Buccaneers. They easily could beat the Bengals. So they could come in with a above 500 record.
Yeah, and
make it a little bit. I think the reason why they make this an early Monday night game is because they don't know. These are unknown teams. Like they look at the Browns, they go, well, they're 7-8-1 last year, but they haven't been to the playoffs. And San Francisco, they're 4-12, but we like the potential out of these teams. If we do it early and one of them poops their pants, then when we don't get to the end of the season and one of these teams is sitting there at 4-10 or something like that, playing a playoff contender.
Yeah, on Monday night, sure.
On Monday night.
Rolling into week 6, Seattle will visit. That's our third 1:00 game.
So far, now we get Seattle here, pretty tough little schedule here. I mean, the Jets not so much, and San Francisco could be. But Titans a pretty solid team. Rams are good. Ravens are good every year. And then we get the Seahawks. So 4 out of those first 6 games are pretty tough teams that we're dealing with. And, Seahawks just signed Russell Wilson to what I think the richest quarterback contract in the league. And basically that's all they need and all they have. I mean, they made the playoffs last year just by riding this guy's shoulders, and their chances are, but look, by the looks of their roster, they're going to try to do the same thing this year, unless somehow they, redo this whole thing. Again, interior offensive line, absolutely horrendous. And this is chance for those guys I've talked about is to do big things against Seattle. Problem is bringing down Russell Wilson. You have to chase him around, and the guy just makes ridiculous plays. But a winnable game and getting the Seahawks at home.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Their schedule's interesting, too, because they'll play the Bengals opener at home. Then they'll go to the Steelers. Then they play the Saints at home, to Arizona, the Rams at home on a Thursday night. So they'll have a little bit of extended rest coming into this Sunday game against the Browns. But the common matchups here for some of our other, we will have already saw the Rams. So for scouting purposes. And then, of course, the Bengals and the Steelers are there, and the Saints play one of our early matchups, too. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity here when they go back and watch tape on these teams.
They were 10-6 last year, made the playoffs. It's a tough game, but it's winnable. I think if we were playing in Seattle, you're talking about a much tougher game. They typically don't travel that well. So that really helps out the Browns. A couple Browns that they signed, Nate Orchard and Michael Kendricks. Michael Kendricks was on there last year, but a couple guys you might see that you remember.
Yeah.
And then we go from there to our bye week.
I think my worst case scenario at the bye week is 2-4.
That would.
Let's say you win Tennessee and New York, and then you lose that tough Monday night game in San Francisco, and then lose to LA and Seattle and lose in Baltimore. 2-4. Are we panicking going to New England and Denver?
Yeah, we're panicking. Not only are we panicking, this is where we talked about how does Freddie Kitchens handle that situation? How is the front office handling this? How are the players who everybody talks about having attitude problems, or maybe from time to time getting a little too excited, or Odell or Jarvis if things aren't going well? How are they reacting to that? That there's some unknown there with the Browns. And then you're talking about being 2-4, and then you come out of your bye and you got the Patriots. So you're talking about 2-5. Hell yeah, that's panic. It's full blown panic mode right there.
I'm not saying they will be 2-4. I almost think even 3-3 is almost about a worst case scenario.
3-3.
You'd really like to be 4-2.
Sure.
Here.
Sure, but if you go into your bye and you're at 3-3, and the easier part of your schedule comes in the second half, I think you're feeling pretty decent about that. It's not like you just, it's not a murderer's row that you just face, but you face some really solid teams there.
Yeah, and some tough road games. Yeah, that New York Monday night, San Francisco Monday night. Yeah, we're probably going to be favored, but those aren't gimme games.
Right.
And LA and Seattle at home, those teams might be favored, depending what Seattle looks like or their record. But even those games, they're not the easiest home games in the world. And like you said, Tennessee's not even that easy of a home game to start.
No, you're actually having to fight for all these victories here. Like there's not a gimme. And so much of this, again, comes down to health. What if you go and you're losing a key player? You're losing Odell and you're losing, Baker against a team that you should win. You go to the 49ers. 49ers are healthy. Baker's out for that game.
Right.
Oh, great. We get to put in who's our backup, Coach Stanton. This is what I'm saying. Like it actually helps that you have a guy who can actually go in and play well. Where I don't believe for 1 second Stanton can do that. But if you got to send in him and then you lose to a game against the 49ers or a game against the Jets because Baker's out, that is going, in a tough division like we're in, that might cost you when it comes down to that final seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, when we get down to the wire. Yeah. It's going to be I kind of like it that the first six doesn't, it seems like it could be a little adverse.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are like 5-1. We can lose to LA,
6-0.
We'll lose to Seattle or something like that. But Baltimore on the road, San Francisco on the road, New York on the road. Those three games you want to win. And if you're gonna, you could still get to. If we're a contender for any kind of like even Super Bowl run, you have to win those road games.
Right.
We're gonna find out real quick what the team's made of, and if they take a couple L's there, I'm excited to see how they respond and just like our fans in general. Like how do we respond? Because
you might be able to
their shit.
You'd be able to afford to go to a couple of these games.
When the fair weather fans were like, God damn, I should have never bought those tickets. I knew the Browns were going to be the Browns.
Yeah, that's funny. How about week 7 as a bye week? Do you have any
Yep,
feelings?
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Because like we just talked about, you come out, that's a tough stretch, 6 games. And now you come out of that and you take a deep breath and you go, all right, where are we at? All right, we're 3-3, we're 2-4, we're 4-2, we're 6-0. How are we going to attack the second half of this season here? You know, what's our mindset? Where are we at? You can reassess. You can get healthy. You can get healthy right there. Come back and you got the Patriots, you know, on a big. Is that a national game? The Patriots one? Where's my schedule?
It's a 4:25 game, but I'm pretty sure it's a national CBS game.
Yep, 4:25 is going to be the CBS game for sure. So that I like that too. I like how many of these nationally televised games we get because like you're going to get the best out of your guys. Not that most players you don't get the best out of at your 1 p.m. game, but I feel like the more of those you play, where those guys think they have more and more eyes on them, the bigger the stage, the best players show up, right? The guys that's what they want when you Odell Beckham or a Jarvis Landry, where that's what they talk about. Like, oh, I want to be a Hall of Famer. I'm nationally televised. Oh, guess what? You're gonna see 110% this game.
Yeah, I do think the players get up for it a little more, just knowing that it's national and
and so do the people that you're playing against. So it's not like you're getting that much of a benefit, but I just feel like we're going to get the best out of our guys. And then when you get to the playoffs, you have that exposure.
That was my other point.
Sorry.
No, you're good to play those Monday night games, those Sunday night games, Pittsburgh on Thursday night. Those games have that little bit extra feel that they're more important. So that if you are going to make a playoff run, at least you've got some of these games that had a little energy in them.
Yep. Like even remember, when LeBron was here, and the one year I feel like we had half of our games were nationally televised for the Cavs. Like there was one year it was ridiculous. It was like and they would there was a difference. There was like they talked about it more. Oh, we're the Sunday afternoon game. Oh, we're getting up for this one. Mm-hmm. Big matchup against Golden State or whatever. Okay, this one's going to be different. There's a different mentality going on.
Yeah. It's just exciting, and it feels like there's something else happening there besides just a football game.
But yeah, so this matchup against the Patriots, as we know, they were 11-5 last year, Super Bowl champs. So that's already people are going to be up for that one. Tom Brady hopefully is regressing, continuing to be worse than what he was. Probably took a step back last year. More balanced of an offense, just an all-around solid defense, and Bill Parcells. You look at the Patriots roster, like they have needs though, man. Like who's their tight end right now?
Bill Parcells.
Bill Belichick. Sorry. Bill Belichick. Yeah, it was real old school. Matt Lacoste. That's their tight end. That's their starting tight end. Oh, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. That's quite a step back from Rob Gronkowski. Mm-hmm. So they're gonna have to find some weapons somewhere. I mean, the wide receiver. They need to get a wide receiver. What are they gonna do to help out Brady? You got Edelman. Gordon's most likely going to be out for the season. They're like, okay, Philip Dorsett, I guess we'll give you some money because we have to have somebody play wide receiver. Demarius Thomas had
some money, yeah.
Yeah, I think he tore his Achilles though.
Oh, really?
You're getting a 30-year-old guy who can't already run coming off an Achilles tear. Good luck with that one. Bruce Ellington. I mean, all right, Tom Brady's going to really have to show what he's made of this year.
You're not afraid of Braxton Berrios?
Well, I mean, I am. If Edelman's hurt, maybe he gets a chance. He saw all of 0 snaps last year.
Yeah, nothing too exciting to point out about the Patriots' schedule around us. They do have the Jets the week before in New York. Beyond that, I mean, they're going to have a pretty good record going into this game, it looks like. They open with the Steelers.
Well, who in their division is going to give them a run? Nobody.
They're
every year
walk through. Yeah.
Every single year, their division just goes, all right, we're playing for second. Like Patriots, you guys are stand up there. You're in the winner's circle. We're going to stand back here and decide who's going to play for second. Here's a free pass to the Patriots because we're all going to be terrible.
Yeah, and they play the NFC East. So on top of 3 division matchups, they've got the Redskins and the Giants, then the Jets again, then us. I mean, they could literally, even if that game 1 against the Steelers is competitive, they're probably 7-1 or 8-1, however many games we're in here.
That's week 8, right?
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to have a good record going into this game. We'll see. I mean, it's a good test for the Browns. At least we're coming off the bye week. Should be rested. You get an extra, you get to take a look at them against the Jets. That's a common opponent. Maybe they'll see something in the scouting.
How do you think that common opponent math works out?
I don't know. I'm not even sure it does, but
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's so much about like what kind of scheme and whatnot you're running.
That's carryover for me from the horse racing world.
Yeah.
Where you're scouting teams against the teams that you've played. What did they do against this wide receiver that they didn't do against our wide receiver? Whatever, I don't know. If
Right.
There's one thing that you can pick out, or if there's one thing that Baker sees, from something that he saw, we saw him do it. When he switched that play last year against Carolina.
With the Callaway
Yeah,
touchdown.
Yeah. So stuff like that. Just the extra scouting. I don't know if it matters though. Onward. Let's go to November 3rd at Denver, the one you mentioned, for another 4:25 game. We're going to have a lot of late Sunday podcasts.
The 4:20 game. They do that. You see that in Denver? You see how they schedule that stuff?
Do they really?
No.
Oh.
I
thought you were serious.
God. No, it's a national televised game. Why wouldn't it be nationally televised? Because the Broncos got Joe Flacco. End of story. So that instantly makes this a really tough game, right? I don't think so. So
Is Flacco even starting? Like, who is their quarterback?
Yeah,
is Flacco their quarterback?
definitely. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. They traded for him, for Christ's sakes. They were 6-10 last year with Case Keenum. So I'm thinking you got a slight improvement. I'm thinking 7-9 this year, but no, they added Flacco. Their offensive line again, terrible offensive line on the interior. Now they bring in Jawan James from Miami, helps out the Garrett Bowles on the other side, tackles halfway decent. Interior offensive line, terrible. It's horrendous. Wide receivers, Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton, a couple names that we know. It's decent. I don't think that's anything where you're like, my God, what are we going to do? But this was a good game last year. We played in Denver last year too when Peppers got that sack at the end of the game.
Denver.
Yeah, and that was a tough game. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be in Denver, like we said. Again, it's another winnable game by the Browns. Defensively, they still have Von Miller, so they can still apply pressure. They got what's his name on the other side of them?
Bradley
Chubb, thank you. So, they've got some pass rush there. They even signed a couple cornerbacks, Bryce Callahan from the Chicago Bears, Kareem Jackson. They signed, and you add that with excuse me here. Let me bring this up. Chris Harris, who was already there. Like, you got a good secondary. So defensively, pretty tough. But I mean, how afraid are you of that offense? Their offense last year was based on the run. How much can we run with Philip Lindsay? They're probably going to have to do the same thing this year. You got Joe Flacco. You're not going to be a great passing team.
Right.
Like, you have a middling quarterback, and chances are your record is going to show. You're going to have a middle-of-the-road record for that. I think that's sort of the way it is. And when you just break down like the entire schedule, you can look at that, base it off of what the quarterback that you're playing, sort of like I did with Russell Wilson and Tom Brady. Like, those are going to be tough games, tough quarterbacks. Well, you're also going to know the easier games because they're going to throw guys like Joe Flacco out there or Josh Allen.
Yeah, there are 4 previous games before getting the Browns: at the San Diego LA Chargers, at home against the Titans, at home against the Chiefs, and then in Indianapolis. There's 3 good quarterbacks: Rivers, Mahomes, Luck, Mayfield.
Yeah, that's rough.
It's a rough stretch for them. And that's kind of our rough stretch. If the Browns were 2-6 at this point, we could still make the playoffs easily.
You got some tough divisional games, though. That's what you have left here.
Yeah, we do. So now we come home from Denver Sunday, November 10th. We got a 1 o'clock game against Buffalo at home. It's part of a 3-game home stretch for the Browns. 3 games in 14 days. Talk about
the Bills. Well, I just talked about it right there. They're putting Josh Allen out there, and he can do things with his feet that not a lot of quarterbacks can do. He showed that last year. But when you are you worried about Josh Allen really throwing the ball to beat you? I don't think that's your biggest fear. Now, he can definitely launch the ball down the field, and they added John Brown, who played for Baltimore last year, who is a super fast wide receiver that he can throw the ball up to. Robert Foster was a rookie last year who produced, and a lot of that was in long plays from Josh Allen, and then they added Cole Beasley from the Cowboys to sort of be that slot guy over the middle. So they tried. And if you look, they added a lot of players. A lot. So they're going for it. I don't know if this is necessarily the way to do it, is to do it through free agency. But John Brown, Cole Beasley, Ty Nsekhe, offensive tackle, Kevin Johnson, the cornerback, Frank Gore, 35-year-old Frank Gore, Tyler Kroft, also Tyler Krofkowski when he goes up against the Browns because he goes huge every time. Mitch Morse from Kansas City, center. The Waddle guy from, who was he with? The Patriots last year. Jake Fisher from the Bengals, Eli Harrell, and they got back E.J. Gaines after the 1 year that he was with the Cleveland Browns last year. Suffered the concussions, but they spent money, and but they still need a tight end. I was looking. Here's their tight ends right now: Tyler Krofkowski and Jason Kroom. Good luck.
Yeah.
That's it. So Josh Allen might actually be the best tight end on the roster.
Yeah.
And again, when you look, they add Mitch Morse, who's decent. He's a decent center, but the guards are horrendous. So again, interior offensive line is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And the Browns defensive tackle, we have to add another guy or two to this group because they are going to have to be able to rotate. They are going to be so tired from chasing down quarterbacks with this schedule and terrible rosters that they're facing. We have to do something to keep them fresh.
Going to be feasting. Interesting here on the Bills. They are on their own 3-game homestand. They will play 5 of 6 at home before traveling to Cleveland for that matchup.
Bills Mafia is going to 5 out of 6. There won't be a table to buy in town. Every single one's going to be smashed in half from being bodies thrown through them.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's move on. Here starts a little weird stretch for us. So 4 days after that Buffalo game, we get the Thursday night matchup. Pittsburgh will come to Cleveland. If you have tickets for that, do not sell those tickets to Pittsburgh fans, please. We are putting Cleveland fans in these seats in 2019.
Thursday night, love it. But third game in 14 days, right?
Yeah.
That's rough stretch. But the Steelers are probably sitting the same way. I'm not looking at their schedule right now, but same thing.
They're going to have a 3-game homestand. Miami, the Colts, the Rams, and then 4 days after the Rams, they got to come play in Cleveland.
What's the Rams game? When they play the Rams the week before, is that a Sunday night game?
No, Sunday afternoon, 4:25.
Okay, so that's a national game in LA. And then they got to come back
in Pittsburgh.
Oh, it's in Pittsburgh. Okay.
They're coming off
all right. Well, that helps them. I thought you were saying it was in LA. That would be really rough.
They're also coming off of 5 home games in 6 games.
What the hell, man?
Come to Cleveland. Yeah.
What are they doing with this schedule this year, man?
Bengals, Ravens at home, Chargers on the road. It looks like a bye week. Then Dolphins, Colts, Rams at home. Then on to Cleveland for Thursday night.
Well, we know the Steelers, they lose Antonio Brown. That helps out. They added Dante Moncrief. That is what it is. James Washington still there. Juju Smith's going to probably, get the bulk of all the targets. They lose Le'Veon Bell. Still got James Conner. Offensive line still fantastic. This is going to be a tough Steelers team. You look defensively. Looks like they added Steven Nelson from Kansas City, which means it's probably the end of the Artie Burns era, I would say. They still really need to get some linebackers, even though they added the guy from the Rams. They added Mark Barron. I mean, that doesn't do anything for me. They paid him, 2-year, $12 million to come in. They have holes that they need to cover. But it's still the Steelers, man. No Antonio Brown. They still got Roethlisberger. They still got Juju. They still, offense is basically intact outside of, who's going to step in for Antonio Brown. We know from the past that they haven't really had that problem. If somebody left, they were able to have somebody else come in, and it was like a flawless, switch over to the new guy. But there's some questions with them. How are they going to respond to that?
I'm not super excited that this is a Thursday night game. Thursday night games just can be so bizarre sometimes.
Yeah.
And
well, you have 4 days to prepare, and guys are banged up.
Yeah, and these division games are so important. I don't know if they should ever do division games on Thursday night, but I know that, NFL Network or, whoever's covering it wants those games to be important. But sometimes I think those Thursday night games should be throwaway teams.
So we're going to be in the color rush. What are they wearing? If we're all brown, they can't be in yellow, can they? They got to be in white, right?
Are we talking about uniforms?
Yeah, because the color rush is the best uniform we've ever had.
I don't even know where to go with that.
Baker Mayfield's first game ever was with the color rush unis. They should be worn
on Thursday
every
night,
game on Thursday night.
Some of the most exciting.
I didn't have a voice for 3 days after that one.
Exciting. So that one should be good against Pittsburgh.
Hell yeah, that's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, and
good luck getting the ticket.
That's the first matchup against Pittsburgh, Week 11. So depending on where the Browns stand, if the Browns had lost some of those early games that we needed to win, boy, you're getting into must-win territory.
It's going to be a super meaningful game, without a doubt.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. So we got 10 days off. Sunday, November 24th. You got Miami at home, 1 p.m.
This is a schedule maker's like, oh, they got to play 3 games in 14 days? Shit, we better give them the Dolphins the next week. We better give them the team that's trying to tank. Let's give them that.
The Dolphins may be on the Sashi plan this year.
Yeah, they did bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is probably a better quarterback than Tannehill. For some reason, they actually signed like Eric Rowe from the Patriots, Dwayne Allen. They actually have a couple free agents. Why? I don't understand. The great Ricardo Lewis we'll get to see one more time in Cleveland Brown Stadium. Yeah, check that out. They lost Juwan James. Go take a look at that offensive line. I've been talking offensive line. Take a look at it.
Depleted, to say the least.
Good luck. They're not paying Fitzpatrick enough money to for this amount of punishment that he's going to endure this year. They have 0 pass rush and a terrible offensive line. Mark it down as a victory. As long as we don't turn the ball over 5 times, we're good.
Yeah, without looking at the rest of the league, the Miami Dolphins have so many 1 p.m. games. It looks like our old schedule.
That's what they go. What are we doing for the Dolphins? Give them the Browns schedule.
Yeah, that is pretty much what it looks like.
I think Pete brought it up, didn't he? Said Zach Sterup is their starting right tackle right now. The guy who played for the Browns on our bench.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, it is horrendous. Defensively, like secondary, they got a couple of decent players, and Xavier Howard, Minka Fitzpatrick, Rashad Jones is getting older, but he's still a good player. T.J. McDonald, but man,
definitely one you don't want to overlook here. You got to go out and win the game.
Sure.
Yeah, and then weirdly enough,
this is stupid. I don't understand this. Explain to me,
Pittsburgh,
how we can get Pittsburgh 2 times in 3 weeks.
Yeah, basically, marquee premier matchups, fucking rivalry week or whatever the NCAA does for these matchups. We get them the 14th of November and December 1st. Woo! If there's some bad blood in that Thursday night game, wait until that Sunday game in Pittsburgh. Going to be a bloodbath. It's a 4:25 start too. Get some.
So they're going to be back. They're getting 2 national televised games against the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. That's a good call on the bloodbath.
Yeah, we already talked about Pittsburgh. I don't think we need to talk about them anymore. Let's roll December 8th, 7 days later, a 1 p.m. home game against Cincinnati.
Yeah, and like I brought up at the beginning, like Cincinnati could, if they're going to be as bad as I think they are, which I don't know, maybe they won't be. Maybe Cincinnati has a little bit of fight in them this year, because it's not like, okay, so Andy Dalton, worst quarterback in the world? No. Best, is he great? No. But he's decent, right? He's good enough. You put him out there, and he's going to have weeks where he throws 4 touchdowns. You still have AJ Green if he's healthy. Tyler Boyd had a breakout season. Maybe John Ross can turn the corner for him. Tight ends, they brought back CJ Uzoma, halfway decent. Tyler Eifert, again, if he stays healthy, which he never has, he's good. Chances are no, he won't. But it comes down to health. Like, they got injured last year, so then they struggled, right? If they stay healthy, they're not. It's not the worst roster I've ever seen. The offensive line is pitiful. It's a terrible offensive line, especially the interior. They need some linebackers, but they've got some decent corners. They got some decent defensive linemen. Geno Atkins, a couple guys that played well as rookie. Sam Hubbard played good. Carl Lawson was injured last year, but when he's played since his rookie season, he's been pretty good. It's a decent team, but they might be out of it. Like, it's a tough division, and this is by far the worst team in the division.
And they don't really have a super easy schedule either. They got 4 of their first 6 are on the road, in Seattle, in Pittsburgh, in Buffalo, which isn't terrible, but you're still on the road, and then in Baltimore. Those could all be L's pretty easily. Home games against the Niners and Cardinals, maybe they can get some wins there. But then they have 3 home games with the Jags, the Rams, and the Ravens. That Rams game's in London, so they have a London game stuck in there too.
Oof. Yeah, first year head coach, so maybe, who knows? Maybe they get something. Maybe things change. Maybe he gets attitudes changed there, and somehow they just start playing better. But by the looks of it, it's going to be the worst team in our division. And like you said, they have a tough schedule. They're, by this time they could be out of it. And if that's the case, that's great for the Browns. And hopefully they're sitting, like I said at the beginning when we first started talking about it, they're sitting guys with like soft tissue injuries that would typically play, that they go, let's just not risk them. Let's sit them out. Because what are we at right now? Is this week like 11, 12?
This is week 14.
Okay, this is already 14?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, that's the first time we'll see Cincinnati.
You're right. Okay.
And they do not have an easy road there.
We don't play the Bengals until week 14. Now, tell me, why couldn't they move this game to the first Steelers game? Well, because the Steelers would be right back to back with one another. It doesn't make sense. They should at least put the Steelers here and move the Bengals up 1 week.
Yeah, they could have done something like that. Sure.
Man, I don't understand the schedule.
Just sort of how it worked out, I guess.
Yeah.
Then the Browns will, after that Cincinnati game, the Browns will travel to Arizona and take on what is assumed to be Kyler Murray and the coach that sent Baker Mayfield away, Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
That'll be a 4:00 game December 15.
This is Josh Rosen's team, sir. Why you hating? Yeah, so it could be Kyler Murray here, unless he doesn't win the job. Might be Brett Hundley, who they signed. This is another team. I don't understand what you're doing here, Cardinals. You signing Tremaine Brock, Darius Phil, the Phylon kid from San Diego / LA, Jordan Hicks, J.R. Sweezy, Kevin White, Terrell Suggs, Brett Hundley, Marcus Gilbert you're trading for, Charles Clay you signed. What are you winning? Why are we signing all these guys? You're not winning anything. Like, get rid of your bums or tank at this point. I guess maybe they're thinking if we get Kyler Murray, we need to put a team around him. Right? We got a rookie quarterback and we have but the roster is horrendous. It's terrible. I do not understand how some of these GMs continue to keep their jobs. This has been one of the worst. Stephen Keim has done such a terrible job of bringing in like just veterans that are way past their prime and bringing in terrible draft picks. And then you come in and great. You start adding more, like it's just more free agents. More free agents that aren't going to move the needle one way or the other. It doesn't make sense. Trade the guys that actually have some value, like trade us Patrick Peterson for our second round pick. Why not?
Exactly. Yeah. If you're gonna do it, do it right. They have a hell of a stretch, dude, to close. They are in Tampa, in San Francisco, at home against the Rams, at home against the Steelers, at home against the Browns, and close on the road in Seattle and at the Rams.
I think this is actually this is good for the Browns too, because you know how many people from Ohio go out to Arizona in the winter, and it's December 15th, so a lot of people are going to be out there.
Could be it could be a little bit of a Browns home game, especially if the Browns are hot right here.
Cardinals are 3-13 last year, and I would say that's probably a pretty good number for them. 3-13 for next year. Who knows? Kyler Murray might turn it all around.
Yeah. Well, let's travel well. If we need that game, let's travel well. I won't be there, but I'm suggesting everybody else go.
You probably get a cheaper ticket there than you can in Cleveland.
For sure. Yeah. Sunday, December 22, the next week will be and probably an important home game against Baltimore, 1 p.m.
Yeah. Again, I mean, this is a huge game. We played the Ravens week 17 this year.
Yeah.
Who did we play week 16? It doesn't matter. But I was just thinking like, man, this is the Ravens again. Like it's going to come down to that, the Ravens in such a meaningful game, us versus the Ravens again, to see, who's fighting for the division championship or who's going to make that wild card. Like this is it right here.
We beat the Bengals the week before. It was 26-18.
Yeah. So they just flip-flopped them. Okay. So this year we're getting the Ravens in week 16 and then the Bengals in week 17. Interesting.
That wasn't even close, 26-18, I believe.
No, remember they had the backup quarterback in.
Pretty sure we scored like 24 points to start the the run there. Yeah.
Somehow they still moved the ball. That's why I know our defense. We have got to get better on defense this year. I think we added some key pieces. That's definitely going to help that.
Yeah, we already talked about the Ravens as a team. So now let's move to week 17. Our final divisional matchup, final game at Cincinnati, another 1 p.m. start.
Yeah, and another win. So it's 16-0 is basically where I have us right now when it's all said and done. I can't see a game that we lose here, just looking at it. No, I'm pretty sure 16-0 is going to be my prediction. After we're done with the Bengals, what do you have us at?
Well, like I said, I think that like the 2 and 4 before the bye is worst case scenario. And I think maybe
that's a good way to put it.
1, 2, 3. I think 3. I think 4 losses after the bye would be probably the worst case scenario on the back end.
So 2 and 4, and so you're saying 8 and 8 is your bot is like this. I think that's the basement.
I would say 8 and 8 is kind of a disaster too for this.
8 and 8 is a disaster.
Yeah,
whew, that's how you know things are looking good for the Browns.
Yeah, realistically,
if we go 8 and 8, I'm pissed.
Yeah, me too.
You're right.
Yeah. To me, 10 and 6 is maybe realistic in that.
Oh, absolutely.
You're definitely losing maybe 2 games that you should have won. You're probably winning a game or 2 that you should have lost, which is kind of every season. But 12 and 4 is not out of the realm of this. If they handle that early part of the season and they go into that bye week with 5 and 1, even 4 and 2, what if they're 6 and 0? I mean, that team could be just.
Yeah,
they can go into New England and win. I mean that's the hardest game on.
Of course,
that's the hardest.
New England
game
was
on
11-5 last year, and New England was 11-5.
Yeah,
they win the Super Bowl, but they lost 5 games. They're beatable. They're especially early. Now that's right in the middle of the season. So when you want to get New England, you want to get them like week 1 or 2. Because they always play bad early. Belichick / Parcells. Parcells / Belichick always has them playing good at the end of the season. And that's what I want to see out of the Browns. Obviously, like that's the way. You don't want to be playing your best football in September.
Yeah,
but you want to be playing good enough where you're not getting your ass beat. You don't want to because for the Browns, I think a big thing is building up confidence. Knowing, okay, yeah, we know we have the players to win games, but let's actually win the games early, show that we can do it, and then get that stigma of just being the Browns out of the way.
I agree. What's sort of your
I think you're
worst case.
Worst case scenario, if they go, okay. So again, like this all comes down to health.
Of course,
everything. Health is everything. If Baker Mayfield gets hurt week 1 and he's out for the rest of the season, worst case. That's the worst case scenario.
If Baker
we could go 2-14.
Gets hurt week 1, I want to lose all the games. I don't want to win any games if he's hurt. Fuck it.
And you won't with Coach Stanton out there. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, so that's the worst case scenario. But if everybody stays relatively healthy compared to the rest of the league, you're right in the middle of the pack on for injuries, that kind of stuff. 8-8 is a bad. That's a bad season.
That's a bad.
And you think about that, you're going. Freddie Kitchens has in his first season as head coach if he goes 8-8, you failed.
Agreed.
That's a lot of pressure. On a first-year head coach. That's a lot of pressure. But yeah, absolutely this team could be 12-4. Absolutely this team, could. I'll put the ceiling at 13-3. I would say that's probably the best. That's best case scenario, 13-3. Worst case scenario, 8-8.
Nice. I like it. Anything else on the schedule?
I like it. Except for like that Steelers thing, like I just don't understand how we play a team 2 times in 3 weeks.
Especially as one, is just as important as Pittsburgh. I don't even mind it if it was like Cincinnati, because then it's just like, all right, we're just scheduling these games to get them out of the way. But it's Pittsburgh. They're important games.
I don't understand it. Yeah, that makes a little sense to me. They could have moved the Week 11 one. Obviously, a lot of it probably had to do with wanting to get the Browns, or what they, not just the Browns, but a Browns-Steelers matchup. They think people want to watch that. Obviously, it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to tune into. So you don't want to. They're fitting in primetime games now, and it might mess up sort of the flow of our schedule. But we're still getting national televised games.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Real quick on the preseason. Thursday, August 8th will be the first week of the preseason. We'll be at home against Washington. Saturday, August 17th, will be in Indianapolis. I believe the Browns have scheduled co-practice. They're going to run a small camp in Indianapolis and culminating with that game Saturday afternoon. Browns will then travel to Tampa Bay again in week 3. August 23rd, that's a Friday night, and they'll close up at home August 29th against Detroit. So Tampa and Detroit is the same as last year.
Yeah, so our friend Zach brought up a good point about this. He's a season ticket holder, and he goes, well, they fucked us on that because they give us week 1 and week 4 where the starters don't play hardly at all.
Right. And you have to pay for the tickets, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So he's like, why? I don't understand why you don't get home and away. Like it doesn't go home away, or whatever.
Zach, fuck off. This isn't the 1 in 15 Browns, dude. Fuck those preseason games. You have 8 you have 8 awesome games at home. Fuck the preseason, okay? Pay for the tickets. Damn it. Just kidding. Love you, Bo.
Do you know how much money he's thrown away on those 2 and 14 Browns in late December against the Bengals?
Yeah. He deserves
tons.
He deserves this season. He deserves those 8 home games are going to be awesome. But the preseason does suck. All right. We got a question on Twitter from Lucas Piepenhagen at Brown My Sorrows. Looking at making a trip down from Minnesota to Cleveland for my first Browns game. Any suggestions for a good experience while I'm there?
Well, a lot of that starts, are you married? Who are you traveling with? Right? Because that always matters.
Sure.
If you're going with your friends, you get your game ticket. You can get into Christie's Cabaret with your game ticket for free afterwards. That helps out a trip, I would say. If you don't know what that is, look it up.
Good times there.
If you're going with your mother, you probably won't be hitting up the Cabaret afterwards. But I don't know. So I don't know. When I go to Cleveland, which is not often. I mean, I live 45 minutes away from there, so I don't, and I have kids, so I don't go out as much anymore. So there'd be a lot more people that'd be able to help you out with this. But I mean, if you stay right downtown, everything's within walking distance. So The best time to go, in my opinion, would be earlier in the year. I mean, you might not get one of those marquee matchups late in the year. If you go in December, obviously it's going to be cold. If you go in September and October, you might still be wearing shorts, especially if you're from Minnesota, right?
Damn.
You might also not even give a damn if you go in December because it's still warmer than it is in Minnesota.
His name is Lucas Piepenhagen. I mean, this dude's got some Viking blood in him, man.
That's true.
He's wearing
True.
shorts in Cleveland in December no matter what. That dude doesn't wear clothes ever. He sounds like a murderer. Look at
Most
that
likely
name.
is. If he's listening to our show, most likely is.
That is some Northern European blood right there. That dude carries around a battle axe.
So yeah, I mean, you just want to stay downtown, in my opinion, and there's just so many places. I mean,
Dude,
you know,
there's a
that's what
casino.
Google.
Yeah,
That's what
casino
Google's for.
downtown, too. Yeah.
Yeah, casino.
Yeah, you can post up there if you're into those kind of
Hilarities is an excellent comedy club to go to. Hopefully, there's somebody in town that's good the weekend. You go on Saturday night, wake up in the morning, go to the Browns game, and you know, like to me, that's a solid weekend right there. But plenty of you know, it matters. Are you taking your wife? I mean, you know, maybe you're not as interested as going around to all the bars in that case. Meeting the ladies. Are you going with your buddies? Maybe you're not married. I don't know. So much of that it depends.
we need more info, Lucas. We need
more info here.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Lucas. As always, we had some awesome emails. We do want to get to those. Ben Chandler, your email's awesome. We're going to try to somehow put this into a segment on the worst Browns GMs, or just ranking the Browns GMs. And dude, thanks for the email. Also, don't get to self-pleasure ourselves with reviews because we didn't get any since the last show, so we don't get to jerk.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Review.
Review. We're gonna start reading all our reviews on the show for our own pleasure. Thank you guys for listening very much. We appreciate it. Thanks for rating us up, talking to us on Twitter. It's always good times. Anything else, Greg?
That is all.
What is our Twitter?
At STS Podcast, and our email is
Surviving the Season at gmail.com. # Road to Redemption. Greg, tell them what we say.
keep on surviving.